It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's today. Do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing. And make sure you go over to joeskarting.com for the latest hours of operation. Because, you know, with the holiday season still to come around, what time are they open? New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. When can I go in? That kind of fun stuff. It's all available to be found on the Joe's Karting Facebook page and the Joe's Karting website. Again, joeskarting.com. Listen to this. We've been coming a couple of times. The most recent visit was to celebrate my son's birthday. We had a blast, raced a few races, hung out with some of the regular racers. We even got stomped by some of the regulars. Laugh out loud. Great people, friendly, helpful staff, heck of a good time. Ryan says that as a testimonial for Joe's Karting. Fans have been posting that kind of stuff for years. Great stuff over at Joe's Karting. And make sure you get over and find out what they've been talking about. And if you didn't make it in 2018, make sure you make it in 2019 because you're definitely missing out if you haven't gotten over to Joe's Karting yet.
Oh, I've had nurses from my dialysis center go over there, and they just had a blast. They just said, they called it the racy place. They said, we went to that racy place. And I said, huh? They said, that one you told us about. I said, oh, the go-karts over in Council Bluffs. Yeah, the racy place.
It's a good time. We can't say it enough. And I don't just say it just because they're a sponsor of ours. It really is a good time. I take friends over there all the time, family from out of town, and it's always kind of a fun game for me to play. They're like, well, what do you do in town? And I said, well, let's go over and do some kart racing and go-karts. And then they're kind of like, I don't want to do go-karts. And then they step in the door and they go hauling by, and they're like, what? They go this fast? And immediately
they thought you said golf cart racing.
Go-karts do go about as fast as golf carts at some places, but these are it's a lot of fun. It's a great time. I highly suggest you get over to Joe's Karting over in Council Bluffs. Looking at today's show, Ben Schaller is going to be in the studio in just a few minutes. We're waiting for him to set his coat down and join us. Johnny the Jet Saathoff, driver of the number 96J Jet chassis, will join us in turn number 2 to talk about his 2018 season, what may be in store for 2019. We'll talk about his eyes and how everything's going there. And Shawn the Shark Harker will join us in turn number 3, talk about his 2018 season. He had a good year. Something tells me it's not the year he wanted to have, though. He had a couple of championships in mind. Not able to lock up the ones that at least I watched him on a weekly basis, but a great year for him nonetheless. And we'll talk to him about that. And then I've heard a nasty, nasty rumor that he may be hanging up the steering wheel. So we're going to get to the bottom of it coming up in turn number 3. And then at turn number 4, we've got a couple of NASCAR news and notes, but that's going to be kind of our cushion. So expect that to be in the 3 to 5 minute window for that turn. And we'll kind of fill you in on anything that we think is relevant in the NASCAR world. Which may be nothing because, funny story, not a lot of things happen in the NASCAR world the week of Christmas.
Yeah, NASCAR as a whole, and from being in that industry for a while, kind of closes down. This is, a lot of vacation time for people. There's some guys working hard in the shops, and I'm sure a couple of these new teams out there really got a lot going on. But, there wasn't a whole lot announced here in the last week or so. We expected something that we still haven't heard from Daniel Suarez. So
right, we'll talk about that coming up in turn number 4, pending time availability. We really want to make sure we got plenty of time for Ben Schaller, Johnny the Jet, and Shawn Harker.
But yeah, for our last show for the year, we just wanted to make sure and talk to some people and see what's going on for 19.
Speaking of Ben, he's sitting down with us. Didn't bring the car along with you, but I appreciate that. It's been a little difficult to get in, but driver the number 98 Super Late model.
Us a die-cast.
Do you have those?
I do not have those.
If you had one, I would buy one.
Well, if I had them, I'd sell them. So.
We got to talk to somebody about making those.
Exactly.
My Race Pass, are you one of their?
I'm not one of their guys. Ben Shelton actually got us a website made up, and
so you're with the Mafia, huh?
Yeah, I'm with the Mafia. So it looks really nice. Dre Hampel with Underdog Design and Graphics kind of helped us lay it out, and has been doing a lot of stuff for us here recently.
How's your off season going?
It's not going too bad. I mean, we got the one car from last year, for the most part, the body's on it. Got it starting to go through and that sort of thing. And then we're actually planning on going here this weekend to go grab the other one, but I don't know if the weather's going to be very cooperative to go up to Menominee.
Yeah, so you might be taking a snowplow up.
It'd probably be more efficient.
Right. What kind is the other one?
The new one's an MB as well.
Okay.
Yep.
2018, 19, or maybe a 17?
19.
Yeah.
Yep. They're talking about doing a couple different design things. Nothing really major. I mean, nothing too crazy that would make the two cars completely different. But this year we had the MB and the Missile, so it'll make, at least as far as taking spare parts along, a lot easier to have two of the same thing.
You've been with MB for quite a while, right?
Yeah, this will be the second year. I'd have to say that they've been really receptive to pretty much everything that we brought to them, and as far as answering questions and that sort of thing. And the nice thing about their cars is that they are very basic, and they're not one of those, we have this trick part that you need to go and buy and do yada, yada, yada with. They're just like, well, this is kind of what we're seeing. Even when you talk to Jimmy about helping Cade with his stuff, Cade's like, I don't even touch the car. And Jimmy might move a couple things here and there, but it's not really one of those things you need to have 5 different changes between the heat race and the features.
Simplicity is so nice.
Yeah, it does help out some. I think sometimes you get a little complacent with it, where it's like, well, it's pretty close the way it is. I don't know if I want to mess with it. But I
got to do something.
Yeah, I got to do something. Exactly. So
Well,
that's kind of where we're at with that.
You did have a good year, though. I think you would be happy with your year. It definitely seemed like you gained year over year.
Yeah, I did. I can't complain a whole lot. Obviously, there's a couple of spots here and there that would have been more beneficial and stuff like that. But, I mean, when you're on second in one series and third in the weekly stuff and then second in the Gales Gold Rush stuff, I mean, you can't really,
3 top 5.
Complain.
Yeah,
you can't complain a lot.
How did you like the trip to Knoxville?
Knoxville was fun. We should have stuck with what we had all year long. We took our Missile there, which was kind of just, we thought would be better suited for kind of the Knoxvilles that we'd seen before, where they're heavy hammer down, not really slick at all. Even in the prelim feature stuff, we thought the Missile would be better in that situation. Well, unfortunately, by the time we got to qualifying, it was already starting to blow off, and that kind of backfired on us, and the MB probably would have been a better option on that side.
I think you're definitely rising to the top as to being one of the top contenders. When I think of the Malvern Bank series, I was always thinking of Kyle and Tad, and now it's you three. I think Kyle's he may be starting to kind of cycle around a little bit to where I think he's going to start to kind of tone down a little bit now.
It's possible, yeah, I would assume.
And I'm seeing you guys jump up there, and it's going to be you and Tad with this battle between who's going to be the champion of the Malvern Bank series.
Well, I appreciate that. I think there's me and Tad, Bill. I mean, Corey could be thrown in there. I mean, it's kind of one of those deals that once you get on a roll, it's easier to stay with it. I mean, as far as being on a roll, the end of last year, Bill pretty much spanked everyone.
Yeah, he was hot.
It got pretty ridiculous there for a while. So, yep.
Everybody does it. Everybody hits that. Just I've got it right now. And for 2 or 3 weeks, you can't be touched, and everybody goes through it.
Yeah. So I mean, and I think that with the level of talent that we have chasing with us, and that'll hopefully be even coming to visit with the SLMR series, then I mean, ideally you don't really have the same guy winning all the time. You always have someone different, or but. I mean, kind of the difference between us and a lot of other places is, that you have to be consistent. I mean, if you get outside of even the top 5 now, it makes it difficult to come back. I mean, unless you're like a certain person that wins 7 in a row, I mean, it kind of makes it difficult. So
it's a very competitive series.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the better series around. We had Joe on a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about some of the things they were wanting to do, some of the tracks that were wanting to come. Would you be kind of a fan if they did a lot of these, they kept the points within the range that they're wanting to do, but then also offered some sort of exhibit races at some of these different tracks a ways away?
Don't have any issue with that, as long as, I guess pretty soon we're going to start overlapping with the weekly stuff, and that's just inevitable if the series continues to grow and get the way it is. Obviously, the travel time for some of us, especially depending on when these exhibition races are going to be, could start to be an issue because, all of us have regular jobs. None of us are professional racers, so we're going to kind of get into the place where some people are going to be out of time for work to be able to take off and, have to try to figure out how to juggle that and, do a normal life as well. So I I'm all for going to new tracks. I love it. It's a lot of good. I mean, it's a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to be able to, travel 8 hours, not have to worry about going to work and just go and race.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of the dream in the grander scheme of things. So, I mean, if he works it out, we'll figure out how to make it happen. It's just going to be kind of one of those deals. At some point in time, there may have to be some sort of like, if you're the top points people in the series, then here's your show up money, or here's some free pit passes, kind of like the bigger national series kind of do for their guys.
Yeah.
Just to kind of help offset the cost of the travel and all that sort of thing.
So. Any big changes for the 98 of Schaller coming up in 2019?
Big changes, nothing crazy. I mean, we're obviously still looking at our sponsors and 4 different sponsors and that sort of thing. We have Decibels who's came on where we're gonna kind of try promoting their brand, and it's a ear protection sort of brand of. They're used to the hunting and shooting crowd.
Okay.
So that's where most of their stuff is sold right now. And we kind of, my crew guy Justin kind of saw it, and he's like, well, they've never even approached the racing thing and that sort of deal. So we're going to try partnering with them and seeing if we get some more units for them sold.
So explain to me. Okay, so is it like an earphone that goes
it's a molded earpiece.
Okay.
And you mold them yourself.
Okay.
And they have ones that have completely plugged off, and they have ones where you can put the radio in there and that sort of thing.
Okay.
I guess one of the things that most people think that, like, when you get the molded earplugs, like, you can't hear anything that's going on around you, and that's not what I found with any of the molded ones I've had. You could still talk to you and I, and we could have normal conversation, but what it does is it cuts out the stuff that's going to hurt your ears.
It's really weird how that works, because I use those in the pits when I'm like at Eagle or working in the pits at I-80. I have some semi ones, and I've got some kind of not really custom ones for me, but ones I bought online that are the same kind of format. And it is amazing that you can still hear small levels of noise around you, but it's the really loud stuff that gets muffled.
They take the 8,000 RPM out of it. Is what they do.
Yep.
And that's, man, I tell you, when, like, especially sitting at Eagle, sitting on that backstretch walkway, and I don't have one of those things in. They go by once, and I'm like, oh my God, your ear just tingles, and I'm like, oh, there goes a few decibels of me to be able to hear.
Yep.
That was great.
Yeah.
So Decibels is one of the companies that's coming on board.
Yep, and we're just still kind of shopping a few places. We have a few ideas of we have a guy that my crew guy has met through his job, and he used to be a big advertising guy for one of the national brands. So he's kind of came on and volunteered his time to try seeing if we could find some more support around the area.
Oh, awesome.
So actual marketing guy. Then.
Exactly. For a crazy big company. So he doesn't work there anymore, but I think he's just trying to find something to do in his semi-retired years to keep himself busy. And I'm more than happy to give him something to do if he wants to do it.
Obviously the price was right.
Exactly.
Back to that.
If it doesn't work out, he can always cut tires for you.
Exactly.
Or side tires for you.
Exactly.
So just put
we
it
actually have a few tracks where we can do that again this year. So.
All right, so no big changes. So who's coming on for 2019? Some of your old sponsors are back, and you've got your new ones.
Yep, a few of them are. Some of the the Fleet Mark Solutions coming back on. Hins, Dave's Home Improvement, Spud Trucking, Sutter Racing, Schaller Engine Racing and Shocks.
Don't get that one screwed up. Don't screw up that sponsor.
Well, why not? I mean.
He may be your dad, but he's still going to whoop you if you get the sponsor read wrong.
Well, he'll be all right.
All right, Ben, always do appreciate having you on the show. We'll talk to you probably March or April as we're getting set for 2019.
Yeah, sounds good.
Maybe you could talk about more of the sponsors you're getting on board.
Hopefully.
And we can get that guy to come work for us.
Exactly.
Ben Schaller, driver the number 98. Follow him on Facebook and see him at I-80, the Malvern Bank Series. And then are you going to be racing weekly anywhere else besides I-80?
No, I-80 is the only weekly place we're planning on going right now.
You got a pretty good schedule with that in the Malvern Bank Series. So.
I mean, Joe wants to get 10 at the track, and then we got 25 for the Malvern, so that's 35 already. And then if we hit a few open shows, I mean, obviously Mother Nature will take care of a few of them here and there, but it's pretty stacked.
Hey, we're going to try to come down and see you guys when you're at Lakeside in May.
That would be fun.
I want to see that 98 in Victory Lane, okay?
That's always the plan.
All right. That's always the plan. All right, buddy. Appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
We'll be back in turn number 2.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Rolling into turn number 2, and it's time to talk to a local legend, chassis builder, and feature winner in 2018. We're talking to Johnny the Jet Saathoff. How you doing, good sir?
I'm doing great.
Well, it's been far too long since we've had you on, so we kind of wanted to touch base with you a little bit and just see how things are going. First and foremost, how are the peepers doing?
Well, I tell you, after 3 eye surgeries on my left eye, I can now see out of my left eye. But I was actually up at Dr. Kugler's office in Omaha the other day, and I have what they call a wrinkle in my retina now from where they repaired it. So about, I'd say about 90% of the time when I blink, I feel like I have something in my eye, and they say it's from that wrinkle in my retina. So, of course, they want to see me again in April in Lincoln, and maybe a little scrape on the retina, which always means later cataract surgery. So looking like at least 1 or 2 more surgeries again.
We've all had something stuck in our eye, and that's got to be one of the more annoying feelings in the world.
Yep.
I can't imagine how that's just got to be the most aggravating experience for you.
Oh my God! You wake up in the middle of the night and I got a little light in my room and it's bouncing around the room, and I'm like, what the heck? I got something in my eye, and this light is just like a lightning show, and it is because my retina fell off the back of my eye, and it's just flapping around. Weirdest thing I've ever had happen in my life. And the worst thing about it, it's not like a broken bone. They just fix it, and you're done. It's something that will just keep bothering you for the rest of your life.
Oh, my gosh. Take me back a little bit. So when did this whole eye thing happen?
February 28th, I woke up, and it started. March 2nd, I was in Lincoln. They did a surgery. 6 days later, the surgery didn't work, so they did it again. I had to sleep 8 weeks face down. So that means did not work in a chair, did not work in bed. The only way I could do it is prop myself up with pillows and sleep sitting up with my chin on my chest for 8 weeks. Then cataract surgery in the middle of August, which I finally got my left vision back at the end of August.
My God. What do they know what caused this?
I was going to say, can they pinpoint it to anyone? I mean, all the bouncing around and stuff in a race car didn't help anything, actually, I'm sure. But any one thing in particular?
Well, and, they asked me first off if I'd ever, like I'm a fighter or something, ever take a bad blow to the head. And I'm like, no, I have not. And then I said, well, I was in a race car and flipped one time real bad in 93, and I got a big old gash on the side of my helmet. And that's got to be it. But, I had LASIK in 2001, and I think anytime you ever mess with your eyes, it causes trauma to the eye, and then later you're going to have problems.
That's just crazy. That's something that you've had done so long ago, and an accident that could have been, 20 years ago, has come back all of a sudden to flare up.
Yep. And I think that's exactly what it is. But people with stigmatism seem to have more problems with their eye, and people that are diabetic, which I am not a diabetic, and that was one of the first things they asked me if I was diabetic. But the worst part about it is it looks like once they start, I've got an uncle that's been having a lot of eye problems also. One thing I figured out is nothing is straight. When one eye is not working, you back the rig into the driveway, you get out, and you're crooked as heck. I run my tow truck, and I back up to the car, and I get out. I'm 10 foot away when I'm thinking I'm a foot or two away. You drive in a race car, and you go into the corner, and it's like that you cannot judge your distance left to right, and you just feel like you can go underneath somebody and you'll catch them with your right front tire. And
Did
it throws everything out.
And it did affect you like that, though?
Oh yeah, all summer I dealt with that, and everybody said I should take the summer off, but it's like, I've been racing for so many years, and it's like, feel that if I take a summer off, I would never be able to get going again. So right now, I'm looking forward to a good year, but I'm worried about this deal in April, what they're going to say in April, and I might be going back under the knife, and then my year will be downhill after that.
Wow.
So if for some reason here coming up in April and they tell you your driving career is done, are you just going to become a multiple team owner, or how are you going to approach that?
Well, they can't tell me that. They can tell me, I could race with one eye, which is very tough to do, but they say you would adjust. But I feel that a person that's born with one eye's got to, they're just used to it. But when you've got two eyes and you've raced for so long, and, as I feel, I kind of lost a little feeling of the running the crates. It seems like I struggle running a crate, and then losing an eye. I just don't think I could do it all up to the standard that I'd want to do it.
Well, I think you did have a pretty good year despite the setbacks and the challenges you've had to face. Can you kind of talk a little bit about your year, your thoughts on it?
Well, actually Beatrice, I did not get no wins at Beatrice. I ended up second in points. Eagle, I actually got 2 wins. The first win I got disqualified for being 5 pounds light. But I come back and I won the next week, and I made weight by like 40 pounds.
I want to talk to you a little bit about that first win taken away, because there was a couple of things I really took away from that. First, that had to be one of the most emotional crosses of the checkered flag you've had in your career.
Well, with my mom passing that week, what's crazy is my mom was always so supportive of me racing, but she quit going to the races like in 1983. So my mom never went to the races to watch me since 1983, but she was always supportive of me. Mm-hmm. And with everybody that was supportive of that week, and I win the first A feature of the year, and I felt it was my mom that was riding with me that helped me win that race. And then to pull on the scale and see the scale bounce from 24.5 to 24.50 back and forth at 5 pounds. And I knew they were going to disqualify me. Toomsy was just eating it up, and I pulled off the scale, and here comes my crew running up. Everybody's happy. I'm just sitting there, and I was so emotional. I couldn't take my helmet off. I couldn't get out of the car, and I just sit there. There was nothing I can do. And then my crew figured it out through Toomsy, and then first yellow flag, I pulled back up in the pit area and sat in my car for about 5-6 minutes, get my thoughts gathered up, and got out of the car. But my mom was with me and helped me do it. I was the one, I guess, that was a little like that.
I was really impressed with the way you handled it, because there's a couple of guys I'm friends with at Eagle that as soon as they get disqualified, and this happened with a sprint car guy I'm friends with, you may be able to put 2 and 2 together and figure it out. But he went on blasted the track about scales are off. They're after me. They don't want me to win a championship. Yada yada yada. You were very diplomatic about it. You didn't point any blame. It was just a bad situation, and unfortunately, 5 pounds that sucks.
Right. Well, and when we run the Busch All-Star Tour, we had all these scales just sitting in the dirt sometimes. And Jim Wilson used to always tell us, you need to go check your car, because if the scales are off, they're the same for everybody. So I've always thought that is, you go across the scale. Well, if you're light, you should have went down there before the heat race and checked yourself if you thought you were going to be light. So, but that night we had some carburetor problems, and we had a couple other things, and I must not got as much fuel in it as we needed to. But I come back the next week and won, and ripped on Toomsy a little bit down there in the tech area just to give him a little crap. But other than that, it felt good to get the win again.
Well, I think he gave you quite a few chances. I mean, it wasn't like I saw earlier in the year with another guy that the guy came across light, and he just sent him right up to the pits. Didn't even give him a chance to go back across the scales.
Well, if you're 100 pounds light, Dan, they don't give you a second chance.
It was 5 pounds also, but
no kidding.
So that was really tough to watch. I mean, the entire crowd was going nuts when you took the lead and held on to it. And let me tell you, this. I mean, you held on to it against some incredibly stiff competition.
Yeah. The racing is really getting tough with crate motors. It seems like everybody's on the same playing field, and it does. I think the younger generation with the crates are doing so much better. Just like my kid, he's coming up through pretty good, and he's just, what you throw at him, he just takes it and floors it and go. And I'm pretty set in my ways, and to drive a crate, it's a little different than what I'm used to of driving an open motor.
Well, and the learning curve to drive a crate is so much different.
Yep. And I got bad habits that were good habits when you had an open motor, and they're bad habits when you got a crate motor.
Yeah, I mean, all that horsepower, it can make up for a little mistake every now and then.
Yep. And horsepower. And, you got to have a little bit more feeling in your butt to roll into the throttle. And I race into the turn and then turn the car and race back out. And the crate is more, you got to race the straightaway and then you floor it through the turn, which is not my type of driving.
It's kind of the opposite for you.
Yep. Completely different.
Yeah, you got to keep the RPM up and keep the engine up in its power curve. It'd be like driving one of the four cylinders. You got to get up on the track because they got no bottom end.
Right. Yep. And when I drive that way, I feel like I'm totally out of control. And then, of course, this summer driving with one eye, I felt like I was out of control when I pulled on the go for the green.
It's got to be kind of special to watch. Jackson really seems to be picking up the racing, and he's starting to come to his own a little bit.
Yep, that's real good. I mean, I really enjoy it, and we're working together a little bit more, or we work on the cars together. And, he can take care of his own car, wash his own car, load it, take care of his own trailer. And, I mean, he just, at 16 years old, he's got it pretty well figured out. And, I mean, that makes me real proud of him.
Well, what 16-year-old doesn't have it all figured out?
At 16 years old, he's got 16 years experience, too.
He's actually leaving next Wednesday, and he's going to go down to Arizona and pit crew for Chris Simpson on that 10 days of racing.
Wow, that'll be a heck of an experience.
Yeah, that'll be a learning curve there.
Chris asked him, and I was like, wow, that's Jackson was like right away, no, I don't want to do it. And I said, man, you don't know what kind of honor that is to be able to go pit crew for Chris Simpson. I go, that's just awesome. And so he's going to miss 6 days of school, but
that'll break his heart.
Now, I've always asked this question, generally when we're talking to the son about having a legendary father, but now we're talking about the legendary father with the son. Have you and Jackson had the conversation of Jackson starting to know a little bit more, so now he's got to push back and kind of do his own thing, but he's still the son of the Jet.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people, they say that, where he's got to try to live up to that, but he's pretty laid back. He doesn't say too much. He actually worked for Dave Tronick this summer, Tronick Tree Service. And, Dave always worked or raced. And so Jackson's working with him every day. And Dave's always talking, you need to try this. You need to try this. And so when Jackson comes home and we're working on the car, he's like, well, what about if we do this? And I know right away where it came from.
So what's a little Jet then? I mean, you got Kyle Busch as the little bush, so he's the shrub. So what's a little Jet? The Stealth, maybe, or the biplane, or what's he going to be?
Is he Jackson the prop?
Yeah. Yep. His middle name is Jet.
Really?
When we had him, I had about 6 names, was starting with Jet, and Grandma shot us down. So then I come up with the word, how about Jackson for the first name? And then Grandma says, well, then we could use Jet for his middle name. And I'm like, perfect. I'll go with that.
When you said 6 names, I thought you were going to say you had about 6 beers when you decided that.
It's crazy when you have your kid on a Wednesday, and then by Friday it's like, well, you can go home, but you can't go home till you name your kid. And I'm like, I says, are you sure we can't just put some down, and then we'll figure it out next week?
And you can always change it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, we got to figure it out.
Well, he's coming along nicely. Obviously, he's going to be racing Jet chassis for a while. Is he kind of interested in the chassis building business as you kind of maybe start to think about getting out of it, or even if you are?
No, really, he's not. He will help work on the cars. He'll go to my car lot. He'll help down there. He comes out to the race car shop, and if anybody throws anything at him, he'll do it. But I actually talked to him here a while back. He wants to go to the military when he gets out of school, and then after being in the military, he said that maybe after that he might be able to work at the race car shop or run the race car shop for me. But it's like, man, by the time he goes to the military and gets out of the military and comes back, it's like, man, I'll probably be freaking 61, 62 years old. I hope I'm still not here.
Yeah. Well, if he's going in the military. He better go ahead and plan on putting that racing career on hold. So.
Well, and I told him that, but he's 10th grade. He's got a little ways to go, so it's not. I don't want to try to persuade him that I don't want him to go in the military, but he's got a plan what he's going to do, and I'm just kind of rolling with it. So
well, we already discussed at 16 they know everything. So.
Yep.
Well, the military's a good way to go. I mean, my girlfriend's thinking about still getting into the military because they'll pay for a lot of stuff when you do your 2 years or 4 years.
Right. That's just it. It makes so much difference. Insurance, and later on in life, I know people that have made a career out of military and they graduated by the time they were 50, or they, already retired. And now they got little part-time jobs and still receiving a check once a month or once a week, whatever they get. And they really look good,
Well, I got a brother retired out of the Air Force after 23 years, and he went back. He took a couple months off, went back as a civilian contractor doing the job he was doing before with about a $40,000 a year raise. So.
Wow.
Well, let's talk about this chassis business. It seems to be going pretty well for you. Kind of a couple of years, you had a little bit of a low time, but now the jet chassis, you've whipped them back into shape, and they're starting to show some great results for some drivers.
Well, we had Mike Tanner, and Mike Tanner's been involved with jet racing for quite a while, and he put the deal together with Ricky Thornton. And, every big race that was out there last year, I think except for the Super Nationals and Vegas, Ricky won in a jet car. And it's all Mike Tanner put that deal together, and then Mike Tanner passed here in, what was that?
Just a couple months ago. October,
yeah,
maybe?
I think it was October 20th. He passed and went in for hernia surgery on the 18th and passed on the 20th at 40 years old. So Ricky now, I cannot fund the deal with Ricky, so Ricky is going to lethal chassis. But, we were proven that Ricky got in this jet car and won every big race out there that he could win. And then, we got, like Harker, doing really well in a sport mod. And we just got a lot of sport mods around the Lincoln area that run really well. And it's that Matt Andrews got a new car halfway through the season and won 4 or 5 before the season was over. And, that's just Cole Wayman just got a new car. And I tell you, the sport mods for my jet cars are they're just together. They've worked really well. Really well.
Isn't it kind of funny to you? Maybe you can kind of sit back and laugh. Maybe it's a little too soon, but Ricky went out and won so much stuff. And I have the logic of thinking, if I have a something that's helping me win, and I realize I don't have the ego of a driver, so it's not 100% me.
Please.
So, but I'm just flabbergasted that the guy will go out there and win so much and then switch chassis.
He makes his living off of racing. So when the whole deal is done, he sells his car and he keeps the money. So for what Mike Tanner was doing for him and all the money that he was winning, he was putting that in his pocket.
Okay.
So, not only is he winning money from the race team, he's not putting no money out of his pocket into the race team. Well, now with Mike Tanner gone, I cannot fund that. I could give him a deal on a car, but I cannot fund his racing on a weekly basis and plus let him stick the money in his pocket.
I see. It absolutely kills me that these guys, and I've talked with Gunnar Pike about it and Ryan Jenkins and Jacob Hobscheit and all these guys. It's so funny that the first quarter of the year, they struggle with this new car. They start to find something about the second half of the season. And then right at the end, they all start winning and they're doing great and they're close to winning a championship. And then they go and sell the damn thing. Well, and it's like, you just got this thing figured out. What are you doing?
And Jed, I've tried to explain to him that the stresses that are on these chassis are incredible. And you just can't run a chassis. If you're racing 3 nights a week, 2 years is max on a car. Max at 3 nights a week.
I'm not going to go along with that. I would say some cars, that is true. Not my car.
Okay.
Our car, we build it for durability. We just got done redoing a 13 for a guy. We just got done redoing a 2010 for a guy. We build our cars to last because I believe in a car being able to, not flex out, as they would say.
What do you mean you redo a car? Do you grind it down, check the welds?
Well, update the chassis. Any changes I made?
Update it, cut any bad pipe out, put it back in the jig, and update it and make sure it's straight. Or if it's not straight, put it back to the points that it needs to be. And, put a rail in it, put an X in it, replace some bars, whatever we need to do, sandblast it, repowder coat it, and put it back as a roller.
So pretty easy process then.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's redoing a car is labor, you know, and labor is where you make money at in the racing business. Now, the selling the parts, you know, the cost of what parts are and stuff, you're lucky to do 20 to 22% on the average at the end of the year. But if you can redo a car with throwing some steel at it and some brackets, you can make good money.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you get some of these builders out there, these guys, they run a car for 2 years. They got 45 grand in it. They run it for 2 years. They sell them for turnkey for 18 grand, which is ridiculous. But they feel that the car is flexing to where they like it. And then as that flex starts to go away, then they feel the car is not as good anymore. And so they get a new car.
Yeah.
And I will admit some cars, they do flex and it makes them better for driving, but they will not last as long.
Well, I'm still waiting for those big, I don't remember what they called them. What were they calling the chassis that were lifting the left front of the wheel, especially in the late models? You know, they left front stayed off on a lot of tracks all the way around the track, and they were real big for 2 or 3 years, and, you know, and now they've gone away again. Everybody wants 4 tires on the ground, but they'll cycle back around. That's the one thing about racing. If it's been done once, it'll show up again in 25 years.
Yep, that's for sure. I'm waiting for the old swing arm to come back.
There you go. I remember when it first came out, everybody's like, what is that thing under his car?
Yep. God, that's I won a buttload of races on swing arm. That was the most easiest driving car out there. But now this 4-bar deal is just a little off for me.
Well, this is the part where we normally ask about your plans for 2018, but I think we already got that answer.
And that would be 2019.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's the first slip of the year.
Yeah. No, it might be the last one, though.
It probably won't be the last.
Yeah,
we got a lot of show to go.
We got 45 minutes of show yet.
But I think we'll kind of keep an ear to the ground and see how that eye comes out. We're definitely going to send some prayers your way to make sure that all kind of works out, because we love seeing you cross the start finish line first.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to start out the year there in March, be after Spring Nationals. Jeremy Payne's going to drive a little bit more for me this year, and Chris Simpson's going to run a few races for me. And we're just going to start out and see how things go. And if I got to sit on the sideline a few times, let them guys drive, I can enjoy doing that with them and my kid, and just be ready to go when things get straightened out.
All right, we can't wait to see you back at the track. Have a good off season, and we'll see you soon, bud.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh, hey, by the way, thanks some of your sponsors. I always forget to do that.
You know, I got a lot of good sponsors that have been staying with me for many years that don't even really give me much anymore, but it's just the idea that they took care of me for all them years, you know, like Jerry Trejo at Independent Equipment and Lincoln, Jet Racing, you know, people that build my car, Northeast Auto, which is my car lot, Speedway Motors. Now I signed up with them to do motors, crate motors, and I'm still doing open motors at Eagle Raceway. And Pinner Insurance lady that takes care of my insurance, and I-70 Auto Auction, where I buy cars at for my car lot. Tubies Lumber, Brian and Brad Clausen been with me for many years. Other than that, you know, it's like contingency people, you know, people like MSD, Hypercoils, Quartermaster, Schoenfield, Sweet Manufacturing, KSC Pumps, Rio Wheels, FK Rod Ends. Bell Helmet's been big supportive for many years. And it's just a lot of, you know, you get hooked up with these manufacturers that take care of your car when you build it, and it helps out, and they're always there for you every year when you need something.
Johnny the Jet joining us on the show. We appreciate your time. Have a great 2019. We'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it.
Take care, John.
Bye.
You bet. Bye.
Follow him on Facebook. If there's any reason to friend that guy on Facebook, it's for the discoveries he's had lately. He's had some really cool live videos and cars that he's just come across. We were talking to him off the air about it. Some of the cool stuff that he's able to find, and you kind of dubbed him the Richard Rawlings of Nebraska. He's a lot nicer than the Richard Rawlings I know of, but
well, he's got some neat stuff. I mean, he was talking on Facebook that he's got he had a couple Firebirds. He's got a NASCAR Firebird, and he had another one. I don't remember if it was some Turbo Bird or something from like 1990, and he just had a video. He picked up a 70 or something Ranchero out of some guy. I mean, this garage door that this car was coming out of was barely big enough to get that car out of. He was running back and forth around the car and pushing on it because it was in the driveway, in the garage, a little crooked. It was quite the find, but then he put a video out 2 days later of him firing it up and said it's going to be, I think he said it's going to be Jackson's driver.
That'd be cool
for high school.
It's a good-looking car. I mean, that'll be
Well, if you like the Ranchero look,
throw a little bit into it, and it's got that nice classic look to it. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in turn number 3. Shawn the Shark Harker, one of the B-Mod drivers that Johnny was just talking about, will join us in just a few minutes. We'll be back on the front stretch.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the home of MAV TV, featuring action from the Lucas Oil Late Model Series.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Rolling into turn number 3, and it's time to talk to one of the local champions in the area, Shawn the Shark Harker. I had no idea, buddy, how much you actually raced. And I don't mean like times you raced, but things you raced. We had a long conversation at one of the racetracks earlier this year about all the different cars you've raced over your career.
Yeah, I've ran about everything other than a sprint car.
And how long until you cross that off your list?
You better make it a little bigger if I'm going to fit in it.
Hey, listen, if Luke Cochran can come back out of retirement and fit in a sprint car, I think you can.
Well, if Luke would be willing, I'd jump in it one night and just give it a couple hot laps.
Shawn, you had a pretty good year. I would surmise to think it wasn't up to your standards, though.
No, it was okay. I mean, we always set our goals really high. You know, we accomplished one of our goals, winning the track championship at Eagle, and I won't call it a disappointing year, but like I said, our team, we set our goals really high, so when we didn't meet our goals, it was a little bit of a letdown.
Quite a few wins on the year, but you and a lot of guys had your hands full at I-80 with Anthony Roth out there running his sport mod. Put on a heck of a show for all of us. I mean, the fans and me as the announcer had a great time watching you guys, and I think it might have gotten a little bit too competitive at times, but there's nothing wrong with that.
No, everybody got their money's worth out of it this year. You know, we raced hard. Sometimes we crossed the line. I raced it too hard, but that's the way it goes. We go there to win, and if you go there just to be competitive, that's one thing. But a lot of us, we go there to win, and we expect to win. And
I think you're kind of a guy that I've drawn a similarity to with Kyle Busch. You're the most off second placeman you'll ever see at a track.
Yeah, I don't take kindly to running second. I'd rather run eighth than run second.
Really?
Yeah, I don't want people to take it the wrong way, like I'm disappointed running second, because I'm not. But like I said, I go there to win. And starting out the year, I don't even look at points until probably halfway through the season, because all I want to do is win.
Mm-hmm. But I think if we had a field full of Shawn Harkers, the guys that were off to finish second, we'd have some incredibly competitive racing every single lap.
Yeah, you probably have some tore-up race cars too. But no, everybody, I catch a lot of grief from some fans, and I get a lot of praise from some fans the way I drive. I drive hard. Sometimes I admit it, I don't make the best judgment sometimes, but, I'm not afraid to put my car in there and get after it.
Well, you got a 15, 18, 20-lap feature. It's not like you can, just ride around for 15 laps and then decide to race for 3 like you see on Sunday afternoon sometimes.
No, especially, coming from, we usually start either 10th or 12th everywhere we go, and, on our weekly shows, we got to come from the back. So, yeah, if we let them get out there too far, we're never going to run them down.
I really do like that, especially at a track like Eagle, because it's a lot of fun for me to sit in the infield and watch you poke your way through the field, and before you know it, oh, look, there's Harker in third, and now he's passing for second.
Yeah, I don't know. Eagle just really suits my driving style. I call it a track with character, because not a lot of people like it. You either love it or you hate it, and I love it because,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just suits my driving style. You got to get up and you got to go hard.
I think your championship there this year was wrapped up at what it was like 3 or 4, maybe 5 weeks ago before the season ended, and there was that giant pile up in turn 3, and I saw you get into it, and I thought, well, that's the championship. He's going to DNF. He's not going to be able to recover, and we're going to see somebody else. But you stayed in your car, window net up, and you let them pull your cars apart, and then you pulled away. And I think you actually finished like second or third that night.
Yeah, they told me my wheels were still all aired up, my tires, and they were somewhat pointed straight, so I didn't even want to look at the front. If I'd have known how bad it was, I might have pulled off, but I just got up on the wheel and just drove it back to the front.
How nervous was it going into turn 1 when they dropped the green flag to go back to green flag action? Going into turn 1, wondering if that car was going to stay together or if you were going to end up in the wall, on top of the wall, in the fence. What could happen?
Well, I mean, I was pretty confident in it. The steering wheel wasn't really pulling one way or the other, so I knew that it was going to be a little bit of a handful to drive, but I was going to give it everything I had.
Yeah.
Well, and half the field was gone, so you didn't have to worry about.
Yeah, it was. That was one of the bigger pileups I've been in.
I think there was 9 cars involved in that.
Yeah, there was a bunch.
Yeah, it was a heck of a night, and like I said, I think it was a true testament to the championship that you were able to come back from that night and then continue on and lock up that championship weeks later.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to win a championship. I mean, and especially with under the way the point system's done there and through IMCA, there's no bonus points for winning. So you got to be consistent every week going to the racetrack. You can't go there and have a DNF 1 or 2 nights. I mean, as in last year for us, at Eagle we ran second. We probably would have won that too, but we had 2 DNFs throughout the year where I finished 19th and 20th in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you win that championship Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night at home in the shop.
Yeah, that's something my team, my father and my son, we take a lot of pride in. We never, ever, ever have DNFs from mechanical failure or a part, for something stupid breaking. We maintenance our car. We work, like I said, we take a lot of pride and we work very hard on our cars. That's
got to be a huge accomplishment because, I mean, the numbers of championships that have been lost are countless because of a dollar bolt from Fastenal that just broke because it wasn't properly maintained.
Yeah, I mean, our car comes, when it gets off the track Saturday night from Eagle, we usually don't run Sundays much. It goes Sunday morning, it's washed, and in the shop. And throughout the week, that car comes apart. I mean, we take the rear end out, and we take our car apart and we go through it bolt by bolt every week.
A lot of the stuff that you're doing, are you kind of passing on to your son? Is he interested in getting into a race car sometime soon and taking over for Dad?
Yeah, that's the plan. We got some pretty big news coming up this year in the future. I got some stuff in the works. I won't say that I'm stepping away, anytime soon, but we'll be fielding another car, not on a regular basis this year, but my son will be in a car this year racing.
Yeah, that was one thing I wanted to really talk to you about today. I'd heard a rumor that you were going to be retiring, and I didn't take too kindly to it. So I'm glad you said that it's not coming that soon.
Probably his son started it.
Yeah, no, I had mentioned, to a couple people that I have thought about, stepping away. I've been driving for 20 years now, and my son's getting older, and he's really getting into it. I told him, made a deal with him that if he puts the effort forward to work on the car throughout the summer and shows me that he's going to be responsible enough to do it, that I would put him in a car. So that he did it. He went way above my expectations of what effort he put into it, and I mean he blew me away by his work ethic on the race car this summer.
You had to open your big mouth, didn't you?
Tell me the truth. You sat back and went, now I got to build another car.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for him. I got to watch my youngest son this year at the Turkey Chase run a go-kart for the first time, and I thought I'd be pretty calm, but I'll tell you what, I was really excited watching him do it. So hopefully, I don't want to quit driving, but if I can watch my boys race, I'd probably step away here near future.
Do you get
Younger one is the younger one going back this? Has he been back there this weekend? Because they got the kart shootout, Nebraska kart shootout. I think this weekend.
I don't think we're going to make it this weekend, but I think we'll be he'll be racing his go-kart hopefully a lot more this summer on a regular basis.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see what you guys can do, and I know it might be a little bit tough to lose him as a worker, and then all of a sudden you got to switch roles, and you're going to be cleaning his car and helping the driver as opposed to him helping you as the driver.
I mean, I've been working with him a lot, even though he hasn't turned any laps in a full-bodied car. I work with him a lot where we're at the racetrack, just having him watch and see what other people do. And the tracks we go to, we got some of the best race car drivers, I would say, in the Midwest, possibly the nation. And, we focus a lot on how they have car control and how they handle their car. And he's picked up on it really well. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard for me being in the car and he watches what I do, but when I can sit him and I can talk and go back and forth, I mean, I think it's really going to pay off in the long run. I don't know, his first few laps of the car probably won't be the best, but I think it'll pay off for him.
So now that you're going to be a part-time two-car team in 2019, who do you got that's going to be helping you get to the track every week?
My dad will be. He's been with me for 20 years. He'll be helping both of us. I got just a couple of my buddies that show up once in a while. My wife, she I guarantee you she won't miss a race now. That when Preston starts driving, she'll be there every time he's in behind the wheel.
What about them sponsors that help pay some of the bills?
Oh, man, I got some of the best sponsors you could ask for. Speedway Motors, they help me out a ton. Zach Woods with the engines for Speedway. Kevin Larkins, he's kind of the guy behind the scenes that kind of makes it all happen for me. Kyle Vanover with Speedway builds my shocks. I got Tex Cattle, Ron Tex, he helps me out a lot. Patriot Crane and Rigging, VP Fuels, they help me out with my race of fuel. Lakeside Landscape. I got a bunch of them. People sitting in the stands, they see these guys show up to the track, and I don't care if it's from a hobby stock up to an A-mod, or you see the MLRA guys who pull in with the big haulers. Just going to the track to race your weekly Friday night or Saturday night show costs a lot of money to do. So, I mean, when people go out and they see a guy that's running, 18th in the A feature, and that's where he finishes every week, and they're like, well, why don't he get faster? Well, it costs a lot of money, and he's putting, that guy's putting his heart and soul and what money he has into his race operation just to get to the track every week. So, that's one big thing I hope fans realize that and appreciate what it takes to get to the track every week.
What about plans for 2019? Are you going to be racing weekly at the same tracks? You going to be kind of changing it up any?
I haven't really put a schedule together. I would say we're probably going to be at I-80 on Friday nights, first couple weeks, Eagle first couple weeks. We'll see how it goes. I try to base my season off how I'd like the first 4 or 5 weeks go, if I'm on a points race or not. But Eagle, I'll plan on being there most every Saturday night.
All right, buddy. Well, enjoy the rest of the off season. It's gonna, this as well as anybody else. It's gonna be gone before you know it, and we'll be back at the racetrack complaining about how hot it is.
Yeah, we're building us a brand new car for myself, and hopefully should be coming off the jig here shortly. And then, like I said, we got some exciting news on another car we're having built that hopefully I'll be piloting it a couple times too.
It's a sprint car, right?
Yeah, well, no. But
I'm gonna keep trying.
My son's gonna be driving it, but I already told him that I'm gonna have to take it off a few times, make sure it's all up to snuff.
The parts don't fall off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go out and win in it, and then all of a sudden it's gonna be your car.
Hey, you go drive that other one that's there in the back of the garage, son.
Well, we're gonna have a busy off season getting everything ready. We talked about trying to go to Arizona in February, but when we sold our car, we're not gonna have time to get a new one put together. So we'll probably be ready. I don't know if we'll make spring race in Beatrice
in March. Yeah,
in March, but we'll probably be close to being ready for that.
Shawn Harker, driver of the number 40 Sport Mod at Eagle, I-80, and throughout the area. Appreciate your time, buddy. Have a great off season. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
So, yeah, again, follow Shawn on Facebook, Shawn Harker, and I believe he's got 240 Motorsports is his fan page. TWO number 40 Motorsports. We're going to take a break. We will be back in turn number 4 to wrap this baby up.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Rolling into turn number 4, just about ready to wrap this baby up. We appreciate everybody joining us today, and especially thanks to Ben Schaller, Johnny Saathoff, and Shawn Harker for joining us in their respective turns 1, 2, and 3. In turn number 4, we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some of the NASCAR news and notes, and we kind of teased and joked about it earlier in the show. Not a lot of news has come out of the NASCAR world. Everyone kind of shut down and is enjoying some time away from the mass media and being away from the track and all that kind of fun stuff. But one of the things we wanted to talk about, and we were talking at length about it off the air, which is always a problem of ours. We get most of the talking done off the air, and then you guys don't get to enjoy this insightfulness that we have. But I'm really shocked that we haven't heard anything from Daniel Suarez and what he's doing for 2019.
Yeah, we know the sponsor has now a business agreement with Stewart Haas Racing, so everybody speculated that Daniel was going to be over there in the 41, but there's got to be something, as we were discussing earlier, like Dan said off the air, of possibly SHR's got their eyes on another driver, maybe, say a Kyle Larson type person for when his contract's up with Chip Ganassi. And they're offering Suarez a 1-year contract, but then we said Kurt Busch took a 1-year contract. He probably would have taken a 1-year contract at Stewart Haas.
Yeah.
It's hard figuring out what's going on there.
You really do have to look at the entire landscape of how this works. And I wasn't surprised that we didn't hear anything before Kurt Busch made his announcement. That felt like the next logical announcement. If I'm Stewart Haas Racing, I'm going to let Kurt make his announcement, let him have his limelight for a couple of days, and then we'll announce Daniel Suarez as the driver. Because we all assume that's the direction that it's headed. But we haven't heard anything yet. And so now we begin to speculate of, well, maybe it's not a done deal. Maybe there's something still that isn't fully in place yet, because anybody within the NASCAR world, and we're not deep in it anymore being in Omaha, but we're still in it a little bit, we understand that in the next week or two, there's a lot of things that have to be done in the next week or two in order for them to be prepared to go to Daytona in a couple of weeks. Now,
there's a tire test coming up the second week of January. California,
right.
Montana.
Stewart Haas Racing is probably building this 41 car. They've been building it up for the entire time. They're ready to go. They just have to put the driver's seat in the car, fit it properly, and then start to customize some things for him a little bit. Not a big deal there, but stuff like the sponsor recognition, the TV lead in and outs, the media stuff. They go down for media days, and I think it's like the second or third week in January. It's pretty early. They go down to Daytona, and during that tire test, and they'll go in the trailers.
Well,
and
the tire test is in Fontana, so it's clearing the. But they might do the media days out there.
Yeah, they'll do the lead in and outs of the commercial breaks with the drivers kind of goofing around with the camera a little bit, and they'll do these things. Those things have to get done. That's big publicity for these guys. For when Daniel Suarez is leading a race, he gets extra exposure when they go to commercial and they come out of it and that kind of stuff.
And they don't just do it for the top name guys. They do it for every driver that they think might have a chance to lead a lap. So they're doing 40, 50 drivers, not just they'll definitely get all the drivers that are running full time.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for us today. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next weekend. Roy Armstrong,
we'll
Jacob
be back
Hobscheit.
Next year.
Okay. Roy Armstrong, Jacob Hobscheit, and Tyler Drueke will join us as we kick off the 2019 shows. A lot of great interviews to come. Mike Densberger, Jordan Grabowski, Kyle Berg, Ryan Jenkins. We're going to try to get some track champions us throughout the area, so make sure you're hanging around the front stretch. We'll be entertaining you with a lot of new drivers, a lot of drivers to talk to over the next couple of weeks. Thanks, everybody, again for joining us. Thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube for sponsoring Turn 4. Thanks to Joe's Karting for sponsoring this show. We'll do it all again next weekend. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. This has been the front stretch on AM 590.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
The official watering hole of the front stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.